Hey dorks, just a quick message reminding you to head over to twitch.tv/mindgappodcast and give us a follow. We live stream when we record our new podcast episodes, and we're live streaming video game sessions on Saturday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. We're playing super rad stuff like Among Us, Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, Jackbox games, and Tabletop Simulator. Come hang out and play along with us. That's twitch.tv/mindgappodcast.
Mind Gap Podcast.
Oh yeah.
I'll frump and dump all day.
Welcome to Mind Gap Podcast, everybody. My name is Doug.
I'm Justin.
And we're back. It's another week. It's another day. It's another window into this life that you call your own.
That's good.
So get your hand out of your pants. Give it a sniff just in case. Make sure everything's on the up and up.
Sour.
And let's just ignore what he just said, because you, sir, need to scrub a little harder.
Do I?
Yeah, if it's sour, let it dour.
Are you going to try to rhyme the rest of the show?
We're working on rhyming. We're working on rhyming with Natalie. When we sit down to eat, she always goes, let's do the rhyming game. I'm like, all right, here we go.
So Natalie is basically working on her freestyle.
She is, without a doubt.
I'm into this.
I'm like, all right,
she's going to be ready to battle the next time I see her.
You betcha. Just you give her any word and she'll rhyme. Like you say, chip.
Yes.
You go chip, and she goes sandwich. She's got it. You know, she's on it. She's on it.
She does those slant rhymes. I like it. I dig that. Okay.
Yep. Oh, I'll say this much.
Associative rhymes.
Exactly what she does. She does word associations really well.
Nice.
I'll be like, all right, water, and she's like, duck. I'm like, no, but they are. Ducks are in water. It's like fish, shark. Cool, you know, we're getting there, you know. I consider that that's an improv lane. I like it. You hear a word association, you're off, you're good, you know. I was like, money, and she's like, depressed. I'm like, okay.
All right.
We're getting there, you know.
And you said boat, and she said,
damn, I didn't have a voice lined up for it, but depreciating asset.
there it is. It's just fine in your own voice, Doug.
I
that
know.
will
Is
never
it?
get old in your own voice.
That's true. Depreciating. I was like, what button do I push? What button do I push? Which one do I do? Oh,
that's the hard part about having that kind of power at your fingertips is knowing which one to use when.
Yeah, like I can set up keybinds to this if I really want to.
And I'm sure you will.
But then I also have to make sure I turn it on. Some of these have background music and stuff with it. It's like, do you want the background? Do you not? Like, there's.
Right. You gotta
I gotta practice. I gotta practice, man. I really do.
So what I'm saying, what I'm hearing is we need to set aside a Saturday, and you and I need to spend conservatively 8 hours going through different scenarios that we might run into during this podcast.
Exactly, and we can create our own on here, like our own. We can go and play with the settings and make our own.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Guys, get ready. We're going to have another stream, and it's just called Doug and Justin Practice.
Yeah, and it's going to be, boy, if there's anything that's going to break records, it's going to be that one. Let me tell you.
It's going to be that.
It's going to be that.
It's going to be that.
It's going to be that. Hey, guys, we're back. Well, I should say I'm back. It doesn't seem like we were interrupted, but behind the scenes, there was a week off for us because I was on vacation.
There was no stoppage to your consumption of Mind Gap.
Yes, I was off last week. I went on a nice little vacation. I feel refreshed, much needed for the whole family. It was absolutely wonderful. It was great. It was very, very good.
What was the best part?
What was the best part? I mean, we had waffles like almost every morning. That was pretty special.
Yeah,
that was really awesome. That was really good. There was a pool.
Easily considered the best part.
Yeah, it was amazing. There was a pool at the house that we rented, so like we got to swim every day. Natalie got to swim every day. It was awesome. There's a hot tub, or as Natalie likes to say, hot tub. She literally says that. It throws me off every time. She's like,
she's doing like a little like Eddie Murphy, James Brown impression.
I don't know what she does it way better than I do. But like I was just driving home one day. I was like, hey, the weather's not going to be super great next week. We may not be able to swim. But you know what else we could do? She's like, what? Do you know what else we could get in? She goes, get in the hot tub. And I'm like, what? She goes, hot tub, hot tibbity tub. I'm like, what the fuck? This is awesome. Yes.
She did hot tibbity tub?
Yeah. I was like, and this became a thing. And I was like, this is amazing. And I was like, go home and be like, hey, I would get him. I go, hey, Natalie, what might we do? She's like, get in the pool. I go, but what if it's too cold? She's like, get in the hot tub. Jill goes, what just happened? I go, I know. I'm here too.
She's just started making this noise.
I was like, this is incredible. I love it. I love everything about it.
That is why you have a child right there.
For those moments, it's like, what? Yeah. That and
you had beach access too, though, right?
We did. We went to a beach and we went to the apparently the 10-minute walk access was no longer available at that time. But we went to the Indiana Dunes, which was cool. Climbed a sand mountain. Loki got a lot of experience seeing some deer, seeing some horses, seeing some turkeys, getting a tick. That was a real great one.
Oh boy!
Yes.
How did you find out? Was it just like non?
Took her to the doctor today just for a checkup. They're like, "Hey, did you notice this?" I'm like, "Notice what?"
No.
They're like, right here on her neck. I'm like, no. And they're like, she's got a tick. I'm like, I'm a bad dad. I got it. Thank you. And they took it off and they brought it back in like a vial of water. Yeah. And they were like, there it is. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I believe that you got it. Like,
right. You don't have. Am I supposed to put this on my mantle? What are we doing with this? And
then when we were all done with everything, she got her shots and everything, and we're done. The nurse comes back in. She goes, so we're just gonna destroy it, but did you want to take it home? And I go, I'm assuming that because you're asking me this, that some people like to take it. And she goes, yeah. I go, nope, we don't need a keepsake. Seen plenty of ticks in my time. Don't need to keep it.
I feel like I would have follow-up questions.
I was like, I don't want to know. I don't know. I want to know. People are like, look. Well, I mean, Justin, people keep a lot of strange things, you know?
You know when you give birth and you eat the placenta?
Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes there's a jar.
That's apropos to nothing. I just wanted to know if you knew that.
Yeah, I did know that. I mean, sometimes there's a jar in your mom's house full of scabs, you know?
It's not a jar, Doug. It was a Ziploc bag.
I'm sorry, Ziploc bag. in an envelope addressed to Santa Claus.
Addressed to Santa. You know, come the holiday time, I'm going to have to redo the soundboard with like jingle bells and stuff.
Yeah, don't worry, I got you.
Ho, ho, ho! Look at these chickenpox scabs! Merry Christmas! You're gonna die.
I got nothing for that one.
Yeah. They never do. I like the joyful Santa that is also very much a doomsday guy, you know?
Right. You're gonna die.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. That's how it should be. All right. Let's get to a little bit of housekeeping here. So as a reminder, as always, don't forget you guys can follow us on Spotify if you don't already. Check us out there, amongst other places. Isn't there a new place that we are also, Justin?
Yes.
Like on our podcast can be found on, what is it, Ghana?
It doesn't matter. Maybe. I don't know.
Just Google us and you'll find us. We got added to some stuff, you know?
I truly don't remember. Slotty, if you're on here and you can remember what that one was, please tell me because I don't remember.
Yeah. We got on a couple new places.
Yeah.
Apparently, some folks in India have started listening. Shout out to you all. One of the places
that we just got pushed to is one of the largest internet radio providers or audio, online audio providers to India. And so we just saw in our number, we just pushed there this last week and we just got a giant upswing from listeners in India. So if we do have listeners in India, welcome to Mind Gap Podcast. And we are very excited to have you.
I don't typically like to do this while we're recording, but this seems like it works. So someone's requested.
As you cue this up, let me go ahead and
go ahead.
Yes. If you watch on Twitch, you can gain points and you can redeem them. So Doug set one of the things to redeem something in Thanos speech. Jared would like this said in Thanos speech.
You put the limes in the coconut and mix it all up.
Thank you for redeeming.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Someone actually did request earlier too a word band.
Yeah, it was for Mind Gap podcast, and it was only for 5 minutes. I feel like we've hit that mark, so thank you.
Great. And it was called Dalvik. Dalvik. Yes. So
there you go.
If you have access to the Dalvik app, please download it and listen to Mind Gap podcast on that app.
And to all those who are listening to us on Dalvik or in the region of India, welcome. We're happy to have you.
Yes.
Welcome. Very much so.
We love our international listeners.
Yes. Jared, chief among them.
Yes. Jared runs the fan club for the international branch of Mind Gap.
Yes, that's true. That's a thing.
Yeah.
You could be a part of it.
Yep.
All
you have to do is a low finder's fee of $3,000.
You beat me to it.
That's all it is. If you worked at assignment desk, you get that joke. If you didn't, then you don't get that joke.
And
moving on.
Fuck you. All right, moving on. As always, we've got our merch at teespring.com/stores/2, the letter E, the number 8. We got all sorts of goodies in there, so feel free to check that out. Also, it was technically 2 weeks ago at this point, but we hosted a whole night of Among Us on Twitch, and Justin was there.
I stopped by.
He stopped by, and we had a heck of a time. Justin, well, for those of you who don't know what Among Us is, first of all, it's a game that's blowing up. Like, there's memes of it everywhere, all over the place. It's incredible. But it's essentially a game of deception where there's people, you're on a spaceship or a space station. There's anywhere between 1 and 3 people that are imposters. They look just like everyone else, and they attempt to kill off or sabotage the regular crewmates. And the crewmates try to figure out who the imposters are. And it's a really fun game that usually ends with people yelling at each other and throwing people out of airlocks. And it's so much fun. It's a really, really good time. And this game is absolutely blowing up right now on Twitch. On Saturday night, I looked, there were 250 streams that had 250,000, 250,000
I was going to say,
streams.
250 is low, but still, 250,000.
It was like the top thing that was up there, like was Among Us. So I was very happy to see that because this is a game that we started tinkering with back in March and April. Yeah. So to see it just like so much so that the company that made it was going to make a sequel, but they've paused that because they're like, everyone loves this game so much, we're going to take what we're going to do in a sequel, we're going to put it into this one. So
just develop the thing that everyone already fucking loves. Yeah,
exactly.
Smart moves. Yeah.
So which is pretty exciting.
When we did Justin Plays Video Games for that, was that like around? It was near the beta launch, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. Like, I don't know where the beta and stuff came out, but I mean, it was at that time it was relatively unknown to me, which doesn't mean shit. I don't follow that stuff really well, but I remember like we played it a couple of times. We had a good time. We sort of put it in the back burner for a while, put it on the shelf, and then I noticed that some of our clips from playing that were like got some views on YouTube, and I'm like, why is this like one of the top viewed things? And then it dawned on me that because it was getting popular, people were just sort of consuming some content, which was kind of exciting.
That's cool.
But yeah, we had a great time. I had an awesome time, and it was so great having you there to join us as always.
It's fun. I don't often get to join in on the games, partially by choice, partially because I'm busy. But when I do, it's always it's fun to drop in. It's its whole own little ecosystem, and I love dropping into it.
Yeah, it was great. A lot of people were murdered. A lot of people fucked up royally.
Slotty said it was nice knowing who would die first. I'm not great at video games. I'm going to start there. And this Saturday stream proved just that. I was the first person that the imposter found, and I think just about every game I played except the one where I was the imposter.
It was very entertaining.
Something special.
Because especially at one point you died so many times. I was the imposter and I was right next to you, and I didn't kill you for like 30 seconds because I'm like, I don't want to do it, man. Like, but eventually I was like, I've got to do something here. So I killed you. And I was like, I feel bad.
I feel bad because now he's dead.
And then the best part was like, when you were the imposter, like you were alive and everyone's like, wait a minute, Justin's alive. He might be the imposter. And you were.
And that's the shitty thing about that game is that the minute you have, it really like, there's no poker face in that game. Like your hand is well exposed.
Yeah.
Because if you've got a streak like I had, There's no getting around that. You
My
can't
favorite,
just go,
yeah.
oh, I've been hiding really well. No.
My favorite part was one of the very early games. I think it was Noah and I were both the imposter, and I'd hopped an event and I'd gone to another room, and Married with Gaming was there, and I was waiting because I just wanted to make sure everything was cool. I'm like, oh, he's by himself. I popped out of the vent, and it's like I'm running, and I'm literally like a foot away, and then someone reports a dead body, and I was like, I just sat there like. He goes, yeah, so I saw Doug pop out of the vent and come running towards me, and I had no defense. I was like, I could have been like, I just saw him pop out of the vent because there was no one else there.
Right.
But I my only thing I could have, I was like, did you have an alibi for what you were doing?
I was doing
Anyone
a
want
task in the vent.
Do you want to refute that? I had nothing. I was like, I don't know, man. I fucked that one up bad. But it was very funny.
That's where I would probably just lean into it, and I would try to like, I would try to Noah Reno him, like, or Justin Stralin him, where I would just go, fuck that dude. I saw you pop out of the vent. Don't try to throw me under the bus.
Exactly.
I would lean into it so fucking hard, probably too hard, and I would convince everyone that I was the imposter.
Yeah, it was a really good time. Jared had some great moments too, where he was just super violent out in the open, and everyone saw it, and he goes, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, dude, you were in the middle of the hallway with everyone. We watched you decapitate someone. He's like, it was with me. It's like, what are you doing? Like, bad timing, you know? It's totally bad timing. It was a good time. So
the one time I was the imposter, we slow played it, and I can't remember who was the imposter with me, but it finally got to the point where 3 of you were in the room together, and I just kind of went, fuck it. I just killed one of you, and all of you were like, well, I think it's obvious what just happened there.
Yeah, those are fun moments. It's very fun too. Especially because
it's a fun fucking game, man. It really is.
Yeah. And Married with Gaming was playing with his wife, and they were having fun murdering each other as they sat in the same room. So it was very good. So
she pulled a really good one though, where she was the imposter and she murdered someone and played the I don't know what I'm doing card.
That's the hardest thing about that game.
Line and sinker.
Hardest thing about that game is the new people. I don't know how to play. I don't know what this is. I'm like, you get one round. You get one game of that, and after that, nope.
Yeah.
Nope. That's never again. There it is. There it is. So I'm looking forward to playing that again, but I'm also super excited for this Saturday.
What you got going on, Doug?
This Saturday, October the 3rd, we're dusting off an oldie but a goodie, where I have re-downloaded Left 4 Dead 2, and we are booting that bad boy up, and several of the folks, the fans, and myself are going to be playing this game, which I mean, it's like 10 years old, this game. The fans of the game put together this massive update to the game, a massive patch, and it has so much shit in it, and I have been playing it a little bit, and boy, the memories have just been rushing back, and I'm like, I am so fucking pumped to play this. And I'm excited because we're also going to play versus. I'm not typically a versus guy, but versus in this game is the goddamn best because you get to play as the infected zombies and try to kill the survivors, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So
this game gives me the jumps whenever I play it.
Yeah. Slotty, God bless him, he's gone through a couple sessions. I'm showing him the ropes. And he's like, I don't typically like first-person shooters, and I also don't like scary games. So this is the worst of all worlds. But I'll say this much: he's pretty good as the infected. He's getting better, and he's a little shenanigans little guy. So I'm looking forward to it. So that's this Saturday, October 3rd, 8 p.m. Central Time at twitch.tv/MindGapPodcast. Come hang out. Playing one of my all-time favorite games, Left 4 Dead 2. We got some folks, and I think it was free over the weekend to play, and it was on a sale for $2, but I think it's $9.99 right now on Steam. That's a goddamn steal. Like $10. You've got an amazing game. If you want to pick it up and play with us, come hang out. You can come hang with us. It's going to be a hoot and a half, as they say.
A hoot and a half.
Hoot, hoot, Hoot. So I'm very excited. I'm fucking pumped. So fucking pumped. I'm so excited.
A hoot and a half would be hoot.
Hoot.
I think that's what a hoot and a half is.
I did a half and a hoot.
You did a half and a hoot, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
to be confused with a half and a hoot.
No, not to be confused with that. It's totally different. It's got a different cadence to it. But what
Things you learn in Missouri.
there's a lot of bad things you learn. But speaking of Missouri and rural things and my vacation, one of my favorite things that I did over vacation was I had a lot of free time to myself in which I got creative. I spent a lot of time writing some story elements for my Dungeons and Dragons group.
Nice.
And it was real exciting to be coming up with some plot lines, and I might be doing my own homebrew stuff. But thinking about that, being just so, I don't know, balls deep in Dungeons and Dragons these days, there was this interesting article that talked about how some very, very smart people are trying to teach artificial intelligence to actually be their own dungeon masters and to be able to play Dungeons and Dragons, to be able to try not to burp in a mic like I did, and essentially try to teach it to be creative and to tell stories in an organic way. They're like, forget chess, forget Go. We want to teach AI to do Dungeons and Dragons, to like take that next step forward towards being creative.
What is Go?
It's one of the oldest strategic games out there. You've probably seen it. It almost it's like a circular board. It's got black pieces and white pieces. I've played it, I think, once or twice, but it's a very strategic game. It's very difficult to master. So they've taught AI how to do both of those and to win. So that is definitely an achievement. But this is the next evolution of that, which we've also talked about in some other aspects, which is how do you get AI to the next stage, which is someone presents you with information, now you tell a story based on that,
right?
Which is pretty phenomenal.
I think it's a great litmus test for how you're doing with your AI development, because you always talk about that. How do you what qualifies true artificial intelligence? At what point does it stop becoming pre-programmed and it starts becoming free thinking, or how, what is that point to where it crosses the threshold and you're like, now we're on to some real shit? And I guess I'd never really considered, because we've talked, people have done AI writing screenplays or AI writing songs or something like that, but to write something as I feel like Dungeons and Dragons, being a DM, is even more fleshed out than even writing a screenplay, because a screenplay, you've still got a beginning, middle, and end. A Dungeons and Dragons, there is, it's choose your own adventure on crack. There is so many different ways that you can take it and what you can throw at people, and it's just an insane amount of world building. So if you can program something that can successfully do that without creating fucking insane insane things, that anything that can do it in a very cohesive way, I think that would be, to me, that would be the ultimate litmus test.
Well, for starters, I would love to play D&D with that AI that could do that, because you can just play whenever you want, right? That's amazing. You have this thing that can essentially do what a human does, right, and it can just create stuff on the fly. It would be so much fun to just be like, let's see where this goes. But, as I've dipped my toes into the DMing in the Dungeons and Dragons world, it takes a lot of prep work. I probably spend too much time with it, but because I'm still new to it, I want to make sure that I'm fully prepared for the sessions, and I do a lot of stuff. But as far as story goes, I'm using what's called a source book. It's a pre-laid out story in a campaign, because I don't have a whole lot of confidence in doing my own yet, because I'm afraid I'm going to murder players because I'm going to make something too hard. 18 guys, they can handle that, right? And then murder. I was like, shit, I ruined it. You guys are all dead.
That just means they're not good enough, Doug.
Apparently not, because I've heard so many horror stories about just bad DMs who are in it to win. Like they either want to just tell their story that they've written is so important, they don't give a fuck about what the players want to do. The players are like, oh, I want to do this. They're like, no, you can't do that. Like, this is what we're going to do. I've heard horror stories about dungeon masters who intentionally try to murder a specific player. Right. And then the dice doesn't go their way. And it's just like, what are you trying to do? You're trying to murder this guy. It's like, because you don't like them or whatever. I mean, there's just horror story after horror story.
You're afraid you're going to turn into a skeleton king.
Exactly. Like, that's 100% what it is. And I realized from reading these stories that there's just people... You know, you talk about having power and how it corrupts people. Mm-hmm. Dungeon Master has a lot of that power. And, I mean, they literally can determine whether a character lives or dies. And I don't want to play like that. Because if you kill off all your people and they don't want to play with you, you no longer have a game. But there's also a saying called, no D&D is better than bad D&D. So, because things are so bad, they're like...
I have the same philosophy about bacon.
Yeah, right? No bacon's better than bad bacon. Yeah.
Wait. No, scratch that. Bad bacon is better than no bacon. I got confused.
You did.
I'm thinking about bacon.
You are, and that's okay.
So they're saying that no D&D is better than. So they're saying that fuck bad D&D. It is so bad that we'd rather not even play the fucking game.
Because again, I've heard countless stories. I've gone down these rabbit holes of like listening to, you know, I think there's like a Reddit. You know, that's like D&D horror stories, you know, where they
guarantee that's a Reddit.
Where people just talk about the horrific experiences. And I've just seen story after story. And I got to the point where I'm like, I can't listen or watch this stuff anymore because it's so toxic and evil that it puts me in a really bad mood. But a part of me, it's like watching, you know, confrontation videos on YouTube or something. It's like this poison that's injected into you. You're like, I got to see more.
Yeah.
But it makes you feel... It feels horrible. You're like, who's doing this shit? Like, why is this happening? I mean, I'll give you a quick one, and this is brutal. Please. This is absolutely brutal.
Give me a quickie.
Possible trigger warning here for folks. I'm going to put it out there. I feel like it ends in a right way, but so these people were at a game store, and they were doing what's called a one shot, which is essentially it's a one session game. It's not like a multi-week or a year-long campaign. It's like you do it in one session. It's probably 3 or 4 hours.
Whoa, time out. These can go year long?
Oh, yeah. There's some people that have played campaigns for well over 2-3 years. They just keep going.
My stomach just nodded a little. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, man.
Go ahead.
Yeah, baby. So there was this guy, and he was there with his friend who was a woman. And as they go to the table to sort of like play, they're playing with people they don't know. There was this other guy, we'll call him Creepy Joe. Creepy Joe sees the woman is like really upfront and like being gross to her.
Can we call him Creepy Don?
All right, Creepy Don. So Creepy Don is like, you're pretty or whatever. He's just being very overtly gross, like to this woman. She's like, hey, okay, trying to be nice. So they start their characters. They're in a tavern. They're doing stuff, and this guy's character starts really hitting on this girl and her character like really bad. And then he does a horrible thing where he uses his character to borderline sexually assault this other person's character. He basically goes, I take her behind the bar. And the guy who's telling the story is like, he turns to the dungeon master. He's like, hey, are you going to let this happen? He's like, hey, man, it's all about the dice. If he rolls and he gets it, he gets it. It's like, what the fuck? Like, so the guy rolls well, and he takes her, and he's like, pushing her up against a post. Just horrible things are happening. So then this guy who's playing a half-orc goes, all right, 2 can play this game. So he's role-playing his characters. Like, he comes up and grabs Creepy Don's character, and he goes, hey, are you cheating on me? And his character's like, what do you mean? He goes, oh, no. You don't play with me. We have a thing together, and you're cheating on me with this girl? He's like, no, I don't think so. And the guy's like, what are you doing? He's like, I roll to see if I can force this guy up against the post. The DM's like, DM goes, no. He goes, you said the rolls count. It's all about the rolls. The guy's like, fine. He rolls. He gets the guy. He posts him up against the post. He's like, all right. And then he starts describing what he does to it. Everyone just packs up their shit and leaves.
I'm very into that. That I feel like that did end the right way.
Yeah.
I do think that the DM should have called it the minute that they started to be some sort of a sexual assault.
Yeah.
That is not okay.
Again.
But kudos to the guy who was just like, all right, you know what? If this is what we're in, then fuck you. We're going to do this.
Yeah, he's like, cool. You want to ruin it? I'll ruin it for you too, motherfucker. Like, But I mean, there's just
bunch of yahoos.
Justin just made the "that's my fetish" face.
I wish I could see Slotty because I kind of want to know what that face was.
But there's just countless. Oh, baby.
Yeah, was that it?
Yeah. Wolfslore said, there's people who have ran the same campaign for a decade, and also, as someone who's DM for years, I wouldn't allow that shit at all. I absolutely would have been squashed second one. Same thing, man. Like, people try to think that they can, like, it's my character. It's what my character would do. It's like, no. This is still a safe environment. Go fuck yourself. If you're going to make a character that's going to sexually assault other people, you get the fuck out of here. I don't know. Something horrible is going to happen. The gates of hell will open beneath your character and pull them under. Well, they will suffer in the 9 hells. That's what I would do. I'd be like, cool. Like, you're dead. Right. Sorry. Roll another character.
We talked about that in was it a previous episode or was that just in passing outside of the podcast where we talked about how no, it was with Noah. We talked about AR and going into like virtual realms.
Oh, right, with VR, like, right? And the idea of
VR, yeah. Well, like what is like when does sexual assault become like
it's
virtual, so is it really? But yes, it is because you're making someone feel. I feel like this is in the exact same vein as that conversation of like, the DM. It is the DM's responsibility to be like, look, you're purposefully being a fucking creep. Get the fuck out.
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to roll for sexual assault success here. Like, we're not doing that. Like, No, that's not okay. And so, but anyway, I've seen just countless stories of people that have it breaks my heart. A part of me like also wants to know what this is. So I'm like, don't ever make that mistake. Now, I don't think I ever would make that mistake, but there's just certain things.
I would highly doubt that.
I do get worried sometimes that I'm so caught up in how I want things to go that I may railroad people a little bit, but I feel like I've been good so far. Where I'm like, hey, you guys have made that decision. You guys have rolled. It's the way it's going to be. That's not how I envisioned it, but that's okay. Like, let it happen.
It's very much an improv based thing.
Yes,
like it very much tests that muscle that you have to work in improv, which is I have an idea of how I think this is going to go. Someone else throws a curveball. I've got to let that go, and I've got to follow this curveball and see where it takes us. Like that's
100%.
You have to have that ability.
I'll give you a perfect example. In the campaign I'm running now, Seth and these guys, they enter this like hideout, and there's this evil wizard who's in there, and they just happen to go in a secret tunnel entrance, and they wandered to the point where they found a secret door that allowed them to sneak up on the bad guy, like the boss, like immediately, like right away. And they immediately beat his ass. The guy didn't even get a hit off. They swarmed him, they beat him, they tied him up, they interrogated him, and then they beheaded him. And I was like, that's not how I saw this going down at all. But they did it. Like, everything worked out. I mean,
you designed this character, I'm sure, to be this like motherfucker who they were going to have to go up against, and they just took him to town.
They did. And I was like, they did that. And that's cool because that's how their story unfolded. And there were still some cool moments, but I was like, that's not how I saw it going down. And they were so close to not doing that too, but they just were like, nah, we're going to go this way. And they go in the room. I'm like, one of these guys is so perceptive, he can immediately see a hidden door without even having to roll for it. And I was like, they found it. And then they're like, let's go through it. I'm like, fuck. Like, and then they open the door. This wizard's sitting in a chair. It's almost like they caught him shitting on a toilet. He just goes, hey, they go, attack. And I'm like, all right, roll for initiative. And they beat the shit out of him. Beat the shit out of him.
Let me ask you this. It's twice now been brought up in the chat that a bard has tried to... Is a bard just like a fuck machine?
You've seen The Witcher, right?
Sure.
You know the guy who sings, toss a coin to your Witcher, Dandelion?
Oh, so he's a struggling musician.
They're performers.
Which equates, I just want to slay.
They essentially are often played as these guys who are seducers, that they just basically want to go and get laid all the time, that they can charm people. They have abilities that allow them to provide inspiration to those around them and whatever. So they oftentimes play them as like fuck gods, where they're like, I want to roll to seduce. It's like, okay.
Fuck gods.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's been Slotty brought up, he said, my big question is how would the AI DM handle the bard that wants to seduce and fuck the dragon? And then Wolfslore says, that's also why I hate people who want to play the I try to fuck everything bard.
Yeah.
And it just interested me. I'm like, why is this bard so horny?
Well, it just goes to show you that in everything that you do in life, any sort of hobby, there's going to be people that are really bad at it, and there's going to be people that are really good at it. Like, there's some people that this is a challenging thing to do because it's acting in a certain way, and it's improv in a certain way, and you have to be like, well, what would my character do? And it's not necessarily about winning. Like, one of my favorite, listening to the show Critical Role, there was this part where they were in this cavern, they were fighting these mer people, and they were beating the shit out of the party, but one of the characters is a goblin, and to get to where those mer people were, they had to go into water and swim in a tunnel and come up the other side. This goblin doesn't like water. So he roleplayed it as like, I'm not going in. And he didn't. He stayed out of the whole battle. These other guys were getting the shit kicked out of him, and he's like, I don't like water. Yeah. And he's like, what are you doing? It's like, it's what my character would do. And I was like, that's a good use of that. It's not like, how do I win this? It's like, well, what's your character going to do? You know?
Right.
And, you know, in that situation where my group beheaded the wizard, one of the guys didn't want that to happen, but the guy that did it was like, nah, I got to kill this evil guy. And he did. So, you know. Oh, there's another one. Wolfslore says, I personally enjoy playing a lawful good paladin, which is a trope character that people fuck up all the time. All the time. They basically play them as like the uber goody two-shoes person who constantly fights with anyone who doesn't agree with them, and they're just absolutely annoying as shit. It's just, they're so obnoxious. It's like, no, man. They don't play any nuance into the characters. They're either evil, they're like, we have to kill everyone in this village. It's like, why? Because my character's evil. I'm like, but what's their motivation, man? Like, come on, think about that. Like,
so you're like, give it a little Daniel Day-Lewis, right? Not so much Sean William Scott.
Yeah, just like, just think about it, you know? And that's hard to do, right? You put yourself in a vulnerable spot trying to think about what would my character do based on these things, yada, yada, yada. Right. But that being said, I would like to see an AI try to recreate this, you know? I like to see the AI
agreed
be able to, because what's cool about that is when we've all seen this, right? We've seen someone say, I've fed 1,000 pages of X, Y, and Z into this AI, and they've spit out 2 pages of script, you know, for something, and it's just absolute madness, right?
Right.
It's pure insanity.
Did you see the other article that talked about the AI Jesus?
Yeah, that one is also amazing. The AI Jesus writes Bible-inspired verse.
Right. So they AI Jesus produced passages totaling more than 30,000 words that may almost pass for anything but the real thing. Or let's see. Basically they said like they fed the entire text of the King James Bible algorithms into this, and it churned out dialogue in the style of the Old Testament. Here's the thing though. Some of the verses, I don't know that the Bible is written in such a way that I don't think I read through the AI verses and I was like, yeah, you know, I could kind of see this being an actual Bible verse. So let me give you an example
nonsense. Go for it.
It's all nonsense. So King James Bible verse has such following verses as, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. And the AI said, for I will fill the land which Lord thy God hath given thee a time to eat the force of the Lord of hosts. Again, it's nonsense, but is it?
That is hilarious to me because I can read, you know, the first one from the King James Bible, and it's like you see symbolism, you see a point, you know, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Like, that makes sense. Then you read, for I will fill the land which the Lord thy God hath given thee a time to eat the force of the Lord of hosts. It's like,
or
is that like a bad anime translation?
power and godly, and have commanded the children of the world, and will set my face against thee, and thou shalt be called the people.
I mean, I am not in any way, shape, or form a biblical person. I don't know, because you can read that. It's like, yeah, it sounds like something from the Bible. But the idea of, and Slotty said it is, and will set my face against thee, and thou shalt be called the people. I just imagine him smushing his face and going like,
"You're people,
people, come over here." I imagine just like licking him, going, "People, mine, people, mine." All right, let's try this a different way. All right, I'm gonna try reading this again. Here we go.
All right.
For I will fill the land which the Lord thy God hath given thee a time to eat the force of the Lord of hosts.
I mean, that sounds pretty cool, right?
I mean, that makes me want to hear the Bible read by Thanos.
Yeah, right? I mean, Thanos gets it.
If there was an Audible book done where Thanos reads the King James Bible, I would 100% subscribe to Audible, or at least do the 7-day free trial just to get that book.
It'd be like,
7-day free trial. Coincidence? I think not.
No. I mean, it could be.
And on the 7th day, the Lord listeneth to Thanos read his words.
I would love to see or hear Thanos read Fox and Socks, by Dr. Seuss, just going through those tongue-tied nonsense words. That book fucking sucks to read. I hate that book. The one just gets you, it's like, blah, blah, blah.
Doug has never been a big Dr. Seuss fan.
No, he hates the Jews. That's facts. So,
well, before we actually move on, I did want to. We had I don't know if we talked about it or if we had said we wanted to talk about it too, but this goes hand in hand with AI script writing as well.
Yes.
And like, what are your thoughts on that? Because, well, again, I think the world of D&D building, from my minimal knowledge of it, I have not had a ton of time with it, but it is incredibly vast. I would liken that to trying to build not just a screenplay, but a franchise of screenplays in one sitting.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I'm always curious about it at the end of the day, because I want to see what's possible with technology. That's always where I go to, where I almost immediately, my resting point is like, let's see what happens kind of situation. But this also just seems like a lazy tactic by the studios at the end of the day. They're like, we'll just have this thing right for it. Read what's trending, search what's trending through the Google sphere and things like that. Let's look at current events. Let's see what we can have this thing generate to that we could then just sort of produce and put out there. And it seems like the death of creativity in my mind.
I fully agree. What my point was, though, I was trying to, for myself and anyone who's not into D&D, I was trying to kind of equate it to like screenplay writing. While hard is, I would think that getting AI to write a D&D campaign is like exponent. To me, that's the equivalent of writing like a franchise of screenplays all in one, like D&D stuff. Like, that's huge. Much easier to write a screenplay. But at the same time, I fully agree that it's a terrible idea to do it. Like, Hollywood already gets shit on for not having great ideas, and there are a ton of writers out there who are not working right now. Like, there's a lot of people you can tap into. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm curious to see, because I mean, we also heard about AI writing news articles, right? Like that's a thing now.
Did we read about that?
I've heard about that for a long time, where the AI can just scan what's going on, get the facts, and then it can auto produce articles, and which I wouldn't mind if it just produced the facts.
That's true. Take that bias out of it. That's very true.
If it was just straight facts, like this happened and this happened, and this person was quoted saying this, and this is the article, I'd be okay with that. Just straight up. Don't tell me.
Do you really want to love me forever? Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Is something, or are you? I don't know. I don't
Are you stroking out right now?
I don't know the words
in real time. Are we watching this happen?
I thought I knew.
Do I need to call Jill?
Who sings that? Debbie Gibson comes to mind. It's not Debbie Gibson.
It's not Jill. Are you okay? Do you smell
Who sings
toast?
that song?
Paula Abdul.
That's what it is. Nailed it. Thanks, Slotty. Slotty's like, Paula Abdul, God damn it.
Thank you, Slotty. Yes. I had it first.
You did.
But where were we even on this?
AI, write screenplays.
Yes. But, news articles. We were on the news articles. Jesus Christ on the cross.
Don't go back to that.
It's true. Always forward.
Always forward.
No, I think AI writing news articles. I feel like we're almost seeing that right now because most of the articles you read, especially the breaking news articles, they're all pulled from the same source, right?
Yeah.
Like the AP or something, some central hub writes something, and then all of these other sources pull that information. And if you go and look at like 8 different breaking news articles when it happens, all of them have almost the exact same verbiage throughout.
That's true.
Throughout all 8 articles. And it seems as though there is like just a bot that's just kind of culling this information, like just presenting it to everyone.
Yeah.
You know, I would just worry like how, I guess if it's just analyzing facts and putting those on a page, but there's something that still feels like I wouldn't trust it. I don't know if that's the cynic in me or what, but I just still don't feel like I would trust it to not be manipulated. You know?
I agree. Like, it depends. Like, is this thing very truly just an AI, or is it something that is manipulated to do different things? I just don't trust most of that stuff anymore. So, I mean,
yeah,
it's not good. It is not good. Something else that wasn't good. Rise of the. Something else that was not good at all was Rise of the Skywalker. Let me try that again.
Rise of the Skywalker.
That's actually pretty good.
Thank you. It was a movie that happened. It came, it went, and I was most displeased with it. But something else I'm most displeased with is the website Screen Rant. Not a fan at all. Don't like the site.
I'm not going to lie. I went back and read the whole article that we're about to talk about, and the TLDR section that they do is technically as long as the article.
It's dog shit,
just
too.
Pictures.
Yeah.
And fuck that.
It's like, here's a sentence, and here's a sentence, and here's a sentence.
Right.
These are things. I'm like, it's gross. But I don't like Screen Rant because they do very clickbaity titles, and you click on it, and it's just reeks of desperation to get people to go to their site, and I can't stand it. It's very frustrating. But I couldn't resist with their headline, Rise of Skywalker's Han scene should have been Hayden Christensen's Anakin. To which I was like, all right.
Tell me more.
You fucksticks, tell me more. So and who wrote this? James Hunt posits.
Son of Mike.
There it is. Son of Mike. That's all we say. They were saying that spoiler alert, in this movie, Kylo Ren is dealing with being part of the dark side or whatever he is. And he's visited at a very pivotal moment by a vision of his dad, Han Solo. And this article posits that it would have been more powerful if Anakin had showed up. And I was like, okay, tell me more about this. And because what they were saying is there was, first of all, like a parallel. Well, Jervis says story-wise it should have been Anakin. In the real world, that was Harrison doing something for Carrie. Yeah, probably right. Story-wise, it would have made perfect sense, right? Because you have also Luke mentoring Rey. You could have that parallel, because also Kylo Ren is so obsessed with Darth Vader, right?
Right. Well, also, Han never really believed in the Force. So why is he coming back as a Force ghost?
Well,
he always said, I trust a blaster by my side rather than one of those light swords. I think that was.
I think that's an exact pull quote from the movie. But also in The Force Awakens, he's like, it's true, all of it. The Jedi.
Right. Okay. So he believes it, but never practiced it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he comes back as a Force ghost. He doesn't have the traditional bluey, outlines. But
I'll come back, but don't put me in the glow.
Yes, he was like Samuel L. Jackson, like, I want my lightsaber to be purple, like.
He was just like, no, I'm going to step on set. You're not going to get any fucking motion cap.
He's like,
Fuck
look,
that.
I'm doing someone a favor, and that favor is going to cost them big time because this helicopter fuel ain't cheap. Right. And I'm going to be here for one day and one day only.
One day only.
So fuck off.
Right. No, it would have made more sense though, because he's like, Darth Vader went through the same arc as Kylo Ren did. So for him to be like, look, I've been down this road. Here's what you need to do. Like, that would have meant so much more than just his dad going, you murdered me, but I forgive you.
Yeah. Because, it's exactly right. Darth Vader went through the same thing. He went through the idea of turning to the dark side and doing all that sort of stuff. And to have, Anakin, show himself to him too after all this time and be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
Like,
you're a disappointment.
It also would have probably called into question too. It's like, why didn't Anakin show up sooner? To be like, hey, don't do this. Hey, seriously, it's creepy that you have my helmet. Like, it's not cool. He's like,
you don't jerk off into that, do you?
It's full of all sorts of diseases. Like, there was a respiratory system with a filter, but that thing, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, how often do you change your filters in your house, your air filters, or in your car, for that matter?
My nurse never changed my filter. She stole from me and hurt me.
I never trusted again after that. It wasn't really Obi-Wan. It was my nurse. My nurse turned me to the dark side.
And then that's the crossover to the Nurse Ratchet world from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Oh, guys, we're solving issues here.
Oh my God. Yeah, but I mean, it's serious. It's like Whistler's like, I made this mistake once. I won't let my kid do the same. Absolutely. Yes. Vader coming in saying, I see there's good in you. Absolutely. Because honestly, that would just add, again, it would redeem Vader even more that once even in death, he can still come back and do good and be like, hey,
right,
I'm not someone you should idolize. Like, exactly, you don't understand who I was, and you're forgetting about it. And Whistler says, I wish for a scene of Vader lecturing Kylo about the dangers of sand. Also, by the way, sand. It's a pain in the ass, literally and figuratively, okay? Stay out of it. It's coarse, it's rough, it gets everywhere.
Once you get it in your space death ship, you can't get it out.
Do you think my filter got rid of that? It didn't. It still found a way through. You ever bite down and you get a little grain of sand in there? It's the goddamn worst.
The worst.
The worst, I say.
It ruined fish sandwiches for me.
And honestly, I would have been okay with Christensen coming back. I would have been okay in that regard of like him showing up like as a cameo in that regard.
I think that would have done a lot to kind of rectify what in Doug's mind to bridge the shitty gap of 1, 2, and 3 and 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that would have been cool.
I think it could have redeemed a little bit of both of those two trilogies.
Yeah. They also say it would have given yet another layer to the title, The Rise of Skywalker.
Again, fully agree. Like if there could have been a little bit more of that sprinkled in, that would have, I guess, that would have explained away or at least given a little validity to the title.
Yeah, there was a lot. That movie, I watched it and then it became so forgettable for me after that. I was so disappointed that I'm like, whatever.
I need to go watch it again because I know I defended the shit out of it, but like there's been so much vitriol against it. I need to go back and watch it again.
Well, and again, a lot of that vitriol is a bunch of douchebags on the internet being like, I don't like women, and just being asshats about it. But for me, it's just like the story was just lazy, in my opinion, very lazy. And I feel like there's so much more that could have been done. We could have taken more risks, and could have gotten more out. But it's done. I'm the same way. I'm like, I've seen it pop up on Disney Plus. I'm like, maybe I should give it another shot real quick. Just do another pass. Right. But I don't know. There's a lot of times when I'm watching movies and I just get this feeling, and I think I've talked about this before, where I'm like, and I can't quite articulate, but I sense a disturbance in the Force, basically. I'm like, something's off here. Like, something happened, and like my brain's trying to like deal with a gap. I'll give you a perfect example. Natalie just started watching this show on Netflix called Camp Crustacean, which is apparently a kids show, animated show that takes place before, during, and after Jurassic World. The one with...
Oh, yes. There's been relentless ads on Spotify free for this. Yeah.
Natalie just saw it on our vacation, was like, I want to watch it. I'm like, all right, I guess. I'm sitting there going like, Jurassic Park. I'm like, you sure? Like, this could be violent. But the whole premise is these 6 teenagers, either because they won a contest or they're just rich or they're famous, they get to go to this camp for teenagers.
Or because of a MacGuffin.
Or a MacGuffin, who knows. They get to go to Jurassic World in this camp for teens, and it is the most on brand for Jurassic Park shit ever, in which these kids are in such danger from the moment they set foot on the island. It is an absolute nightmare of, like, I'm sitting there like kind of half paying attention, but I'm looking around, I'm like, who's watching these kids? Like,
right.
The very first night they're there, they sneak out of their place and they go down to the dinosaur pens and they think they're looking at something that's like not dangerous, but they're at the fucking raptor pen. And like this thing like lunges at them. I'm like, who the fuck is watching these kids? Like who's doing this?
Do you have no history in this universe?
Well, again, I'm sitting there because at one point it's like there's the Indominus Rex. And I remember seeing Jurassic World at one point. I'm like, I don't really remember everything, but I was like, wait, is this happening at the same time or afterwards? And I don't know. At one point, they kind of showcase a scene that happens in the movie. I'm like, oh my God, this is kind of cool in that regard. I was like, hey, from another perspective, this is playing out with these kids. But again, the kids are also incredibly lucky that they don't get eaten, whereas you watch actual adults get killed in the show. Yeah. It's not like you get to see them get torn apart, but they get eaten by dinosaurs.
So the kids are surviving. I would love to see the kids deal real world with one of their peers getting murdered by a dinosaur.
They are, again, it's a kid's show, so they kind of have to lay it, like really go with certain themes. But I'm like, these they're watching adults get killed, man, and they're trying to get off the island on their own because they're separated from any other adults, and the dinosaurs are running wild, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Maybe season 2 is just them, they've escaped, and now it's just following them in therapy as they deal with the horrors that they just found.
Oh, no, Justin. They don't escape at the end of the first season. Everyone else gets off the island. They don't. They miss the boat, literally. And you know what they do? They're like, don't worry, guys. We can do this. We can survive. I'm like, y'all fucked. Y'all are dead. I don't know how you're alive this long. Like,
so now what I want is season 2 to open up just with a sweeping shot across all the carcasses of these kids,
right?
Just being torn apart, just like the bones being picked by like pterodactyls and stuff. And then a new wave of kids comes in, and
what it is
story.
There's 3 left, and the 3 of them are eating the remains of one of the kids because they ran out of food.
Sure, yes. And then the 3 that are being eaten, they show up as Force ghosts.
There they go. Just gonna tie it all together.
Exactly.
But it's just, I was just watching this being like, there are gaps in logic on this. And like, I get it. This is a kid's show. I understand. I mean, I had the same problems with Jurassic World where I'm like, who in this universe would be like, sweet, nothing ever bad with this happened with this Jurassic Park brand at all. I mean, the first park didn't even open, but the people that were there got murdered. Dinosaurs got off of the mainland and made it into, I don't know, what was it, New York or some shit?
I think it was L.A. or something.
L.A.
One of the, doesn't matter.
San Francisco, one of those things.
San Diego. We'll say San Diego.
And then it's like, they were still roaming free, and a third one, I think there was a 4th one, I don't fucking know. It's like, you know what? Don't worry, guys. We're not even going to call it something different. We're just going to call it Jurassic World. And everything goes wrong. And I'm like, what? Who in the world's like, I want to go to this park? Sounds like a good idea. I was like, what?
They figured it out.
Ugh. Just that, and that was my biggest thing with that movie too, was I was like, I don't buy for a second that anyone would be like, this is good.
Well, let me pose this to you. If in Disney World if, the Small World attraction or any of the Pirates of the Caribbean, any of those, if the robots became sentient and they came crawling out of the ride and started murdering park guests and then made their way to the greater contiguous United States and finally got shut down, then Disney went, sorry, our Imagineers went back to the drawing board and now we've got a foolproof plan. Would you go to that amusement park?
Absolutely
Precisely.
not. Absolutely
Precisely.
not. I would not.
Right there.
And I wouldn't do it too. Like I'm like, fuck that shit. All this goodwill that you have, Disney, is done. We're done. Nope.
So it doesn't matter how many times you reboot it and go, we've learned from our mistakes. Beg to differ.
Yeah, I mean, sure, dinosaurs are cool and all, but after the highly publicized failure of the first island, followed by the dinosaurs rampaging through some major city in the U.S., I think we could all agree that ain't cool, man. Like,
right.
We're not doing that.
Legislation needs to happen to shut this place down.
Yeah. Like,
where are the legislators?
Like, it's in an island. We bought an island, maritime law, bitch.
Yes.
I love that. Jared's like, what? Yeah, Disneyland is open during a pandemic. You are correct, sir. And
yes,
they opened.
Americans would go as long as they didn't need to wear a mask.
They, Disney opened in July.
Yeah.
In July they opened, which I was like, yikes. No, thank you. I mean, we were gonna go in February originally for Natalie's birthday.
Seen the ads that they're running?
No,
they're horrifying.
I've seen the ads that people have recut.
Right. Well, most of them you don't need to recut. They're that terrifying by themselves. Even with, I think they might have a Christmas themed one out right now, and it is just fucking. I'm like, someone is sitting in a room making this commercial. No one else in that room is going, hey guys, tonally this feels off. Like no one's doing that. You guys need to hire some new people.
I would like to think that, I mean, because this is where the really gross part of Disney comes out, when they're like, we need money.
Come back. Yeah.
Hold on, let me get that right. Hold on. They go, we need money. Was that good?
Spot on impression of Michael.
It's like, okay.
Okay, sorry.
I'm like, you guys are fine. Stay closed. Like,
yeah, you're gonna do just fine.
I know they're like, oh, but they provide jobs. I'm like, it's not worth it. That is not an essential place to be open right now.
Not even
it's
a
just
little.
Amusement parks. I'm sorry. As much as I would love to go,
right
now ain't the time, man. It's not the time.
Well, I mean, Florida itself is opening up to a Phase 5 opening, as well as Indiana is opening up to a Phase 5 opening. And again, we've discussed this. Indiana is just the Florida of the Midwest.
I mean, you can make that argument for a lot of states in the Midwest. I mean, to give that solid to Indiana, I think is being kind of presumptuous, don't you think?
Indiana's pretty much a trash pile. Let's just call it what it is.
I mean, you got Missouri. I mean, Missouri, is a pretty big pile of dino doo-doo,
That's true, yeah.
I mean, the governor of Missouri has COVID right now because he doesn't believe face masks. So,
yeah, well, most of Indiana's about to get COVID.
All right, so here's the thing. If we have to do a throwdown between these two states as to which one is the worst, I mean,
my God. Oh, boy. All right. Etoy would agree with me. First off, all right, Jared, Etoy would 100% agree. You don't live in Indiana and not realize what you're living in.
Here's what I'll say. They're both very racist, but Indiana, I think, has one of the highest concentrations of KKK members in the U.S. So...
Indiana does?
Yeah. That could just be total hearsay, but I heard that for a long time. It's like, yo, watch out for Indiana, man.
Right.
KKK is there in force.
I'm getting a lot of backing on the on the thing for Indiana. A lot of people are hating on Indiana right now.
Maka 68's like, I concur on Indiana. It's like, look, man, there's a lot of, I mean,
Slotty said I lived on the border with Indiana for many years and can attest it's garbage.
Yeah, they have one now.
For anyone living in Indiana who is
Marcus says it's true.
it's true. Look, we love you as individuals, but you have to admit your state is troubling.
That's a very
and I will admit that our state, Illinois, is very corrupt.
Yes.
I'm 100% willing to admit that, as long as you can admit that your state is very troubling.
Yeah. It's
making enemies on Mindcap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Welcome to the Throwdown.
God, I missed that so much.
Right?
Oh my God.
Felt good to do it. Just felt good to do it.
It did.
Okay, so today's Throwdown. We're going.
Where are we going?
We're going overseas for this one, Doug.
Oh
yeah. Today's Throwdown is Shang-Chi versus Iron Fist.
Interesting.
The kids like it. This is for the kids.
All right, Justin.
So,
break down Shang-Chi for me.
Yes. Shang-Chi has a new show coming out, movie coming out called The 10 Rings with Shang-Chi.
It's a jewelry show, you know?
Right. How to forge 10 rings with Shang-Chi. Toe rings.
The movie's called Shang-Chi and the Legend of the 10 Rings.
That's what I said. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
All right. So powers and abilities. This guy, look, he knows some kung fu. Okay. I'm going to put that out there. He's from Earth 616. Where are we at here? Hold on. There we go. Wait.
Wolf Source says Iron Fist in the comics is just One Punch Man. Well, sir, say this much. According to Marvel.fandom.com, Shang-Chi...
Where do you even find his fucking... Oh, powers and abilities. Never mind. Go ahead.
They say he is a master martial artist. One of the greatest martial artists on Earth, having been trained possibly since birth to become the ultimate warrior.
Yes, and he is also one of the only ones who can hold their own with a god against a god without the use of magic.
Yep, and he is great strength, and chi allows him to strike with inhuman force, enabling him to break through barriers such as brick, concrete, and iron, and withstand impacts almost to a superhuman degree and ease all forms of pain and discomfort. Shang, according to this site, has stalemated Iron Fist in single combat, with the two martial artists portrayed as equals, while Black Panther stated Shang-Chi is better than Rand. That's some tough shit right there.
That is some tough shit. I will say, too, that he is able to dodge bullets from machine guns and sniper rifles, and he's got Wonder Woman-style bracelets that he can deflect gunshots with.
He's also a patient fisher. Highly skilled fisherman.
And if you've ever seen someone stand in a river and fly fish, you have asked yourself, why? All right, Doug, break down Iron Fist for us.
All right, so Danny Rand, also from Earth 616.
Can you use his Christian name, please?
He was the son of a businessman.
Daniel Rand.
Daniel Rand.
The
obviously
boy that could ever reach me.
Was the son of Daniel Rand. Was the son of a businessman. Very similar stats here as far as fighting skills, chi augmentation, his Iron Fist punch.
Well, I'm sorry, hold on. His education is the high school equivalent of Kung Lan.
Wait, what?
Kun Luna? Where's he from?
Kunlun?
Kunlun. It says education, high school equivalent of Kunlun.
What's that mean?
I don't know. I don't think he graduated high school.
I don't think he graduated Kunlun.
Hold on. I've dipped on this guy. Hold on.
What I love most about this article about him is almost everything about his abilities as citation needed.
I think that show really hurt him, man. I really do.
His Iron Fist punch, it's like citation needed, citation needed, citation needed, citation needed. But according to this citation needed thing, he can summon his chi and focus it into his hand. He can draw upon the superhuman energy derived from the heart of the mystic serpent Shao Lao. Make his fist inhumanly powerful, as well as a superhumanly resistant to injury and pain on a superhuman scale. With his fist in the state, he can shatter wood and brick, rip through steel, and punch his opponents with extraordinary concussive force without sustaining injury to himself. It was rendered incredibly durable. Humans such as Colossus, unconscious, shatter Scorpion's tail, destroy the Thunderball's ball and chain, as well as punch through Chi-Lin, who was barely affected by punches to the head of Luke Cage. All these, citation needed. He apparently was strong enough to bring down a hammer helicarrier with one strike. Also destroyed a nuclear train with one punch. And but the act of summoning this mentally drains him after long periods of use. Followed by, however, that is no longer the case. Citation needed for both.
Citation needed for both. Well, so they're both masters of chi, basically, because that's where his Iron Fist comes from, and Shang-Chi, it's in his name. So they're both masters of chi.
Mm-hmm.
He also knocked out a drunken Hercules.
This is why when you hear about this shit and they're like, hey, we're making a movie about this, you're like, how are you going to do this? Because the comics are batshit.
Right, exactly. Yes. Taking down Black Panther while wearing his vibranium suit. That's interesting.
That's definitely interesting.
Taking down a shield helicarrier with a single punch, focusing his chi inward to heal himself, outward to injure others. But Shang-Chi can also focus his energy to heal, correct?
Possibly.
He's also, Shang-Chi's able to tune. He's very in tune with chi emitted by all living beings to the point where he's able to detect a psionically masked Jean Grey by sensing her energy. So I would say that kind of gives him if he's in tune not only with his own chi, but with the chi of every other living being. Danny. Here, the thing is, though, Danny Rand said it can focus his chi inward to heal himself or outward to injure to heal others, as well as to give himself psychic senses and to telepathically fuse his consciousness with another person.
They both have nervous system control, enabling to deaden themselves to pain, but not during a fight for Iron Fist, as it takes a lot of concentration. Where it seems like Shang-Chi can. He can enable him to deaden his body to physical pain, resist the effects of drugs or poisons, even slow his bleeding rate. And it does say that Iron Fist has held his own against Wolverine, Captain America. He's had victories over Gorgon, Sabretooth, Batroc, Black Dragon, Black Panther, Nightshade, Spider-Man, Daredevil, Colossus, and Nightcrawler.
Yes, but some of Shang-Chi's most prominent students and sparring partners have included Captain America, Spider-Man, and Wolverine. So he taught them. Danny Rand was able to stand against them and hold his own.
Yeah.
I just feel like, again, the thing that always goes back for me is that he was able to hold his own against a god without using magic.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes to me.
Well, it seems to me that there's just a little bit of an edge with Shang-Chi. Just a bit of, I mean, it would be an amazing fight. Like, it'd probably be one of the best, action sequences you've ever seen, watching these two go at it.
Oh, yeah.
With their different abilities and things like that. It'd be interesting to see how it would go. And I think it would be pretty close for the most part, but I feel like Shang-Chi just has a slight advantage in some areas.
Yeah.
That is, in a fight like that, the slightest advantage could be the tipping point on who wins. I think would be quite amazing.
But wait a second. Can Shang-Chi reproduce himself?
I mean, there is by successfully communicating with the origin bomb site in Kobe, Japan, Shang-Chi turned the site to his advantage and replicated himself. Dozens of Shang-Chi copies spawned from the origin bomb site. each with his mind and skills. It's unclear if a finite number of Shang-Chi duplicates have been produced, or if Shang-Chi can continue producing new copies on command. Well, that is also a bit of an advantage.
Like, if you can, yeah, that's like Doctor Strange doing the whole thing where he surrounds you with copies of himself and shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I gotta say, man, based off of what I'm reading here, I feel like Shang-Chi wins this shit.
I think he does.
It would be an amazing thing, and to be Black Panther sitting back going, "This is a good fight."
Yeah, right? Just watching like Captain America and Black Panther just being like,
yeah,
we should just stay out of this.
I'm gonna go get some shawarma if you're cool with that. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, should we take notes?
Yeah. Are we saying Shang-Chi for the win?
I think so.
Shang-Chi for the win!
Ta-da!
Yeah, guys.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm now very excited to see this movie because I knew nothing about the character until this throwdown. So
yeah, I'm curious to see what they end up doing with the 10 rings because originally it was sort of like they hinted at it in the first Iron Man movie. In Iron Man 3, obviously they did whatever they decided to do with the Mandarin, but then they had that one shot afterwards, like in one of the bonus features on a DVD where they said that the Mandarin really was real and the 10 rings were a big deal. So I
remember that.
You don't remember that? It was amazing.
It was a bonus on a DVD or an after credits?
They did like a series of one shots.
Oh, right. I never watched those actually.
Really?
The only one I've ever seen is A Strange Thing Happened on the Way to Thor's Hammer. That's the only one I've ever seen.
That one was good. There was another one where they talked about the end credit sequence at for Incredible Hulk, where Stark goes to talk to General Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
And because that whole thing seemed weird where he's like, we're putting a team together. They give you more context to that in that when they captured Abomination, they were actually going to use the Abomination was going to be on the team with Avengers. Like Thunderbolt wanted to use him, but everyone was like, he's too much of a liability. So they send Stark in there to basically say, I want him. We put a team together, and Thunderbolt basically changes Thunderbolt's mind because Stark was being an asshole. So, but that was a whole part of their manipulation, which is really, really cool. And then, of course, there was this other one, which was amazing, where this guy goes in to interview Ben Kingsley's, character about the Mandarin, and it takes a really interesting turn at the end of it, where you're like, oh, shit, this is pretty intense. But what I hated about it at the same time was, I'm like, you guys just walked back the shit show that was Iron Man 3. Right. You just walked back and like, yeah, it didn't play very well, so we'll just say that. The Mandarin really is real. Yeah. It's not Guy Pearce. It's actually a real thing. Yeah.
Right.
Exterminate! Exterminate! Exterminate!
The story no longer exists.
Yeah. If you get a chance, you can probably find it on YouTube. You should check it out. It's like a 10-minute short.
I definitely will be looking at that.
Yeah, it's really well done. It's really cool. Anywho, let's talk about our recommendations for this week. What you got there?
So I am going to strongly recommend, even if you have to just do the free 7-day trial for it, Ted Lasso on Apple TV. It's Jason Sudeikis. He plays he plays an American college football coach who gets hired to go coach pro league soccer in the UK, and it is hysterical and shockingly heartfelt. I would put it on the same level, a similar level, I'll say this, as Schitt's Creek, in that good continues to win in this. And it's just one of those that you watch and you're like, oh, there's like people who kind of rib each other, but it's nice to see a show that it's not like I'm currently watching Veep as well. And they are just incredibly shitty to each other. And after a while, it gets a little hard to watch because I'm like, I'm tired of people being mean to each other,
Yeah.
Something that's great about Schitt's Creek is that everyone is just kind of accepting of each other. And in this, like, there's just good continues to win, but in a really funny way. So I would strongly check out Ted Lasso. It's 10 episodes. The last episode drops this Friday, and you'll be able to binge all of them then. Something I did learn is that 7 years ago, this started when NBC Sports was doing the Premier League. They were starting to air the Premier League soccer, and they created this character as a promotional device for it.
Interesting.
And so Jason Sudeikis played Ted Lasso in a couple commercials or shorts, and then they took it and they developed it over 7 years and made a fucking show out of it, and it's really good.
That's pretty cool.
And then this morning, I instead of turning on the news, I watched The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, and I fucking love that movie. It caught some flack, and it only has like 51% in Rotten Tomatoes, but fuck Rotten Tomatoes. That movie is I feel like currently sits comfortably in my top 20. It's a wonderfully beautiful movie.
That's awesome.
And Ben Affleck, Jesus Christ, Ben Stiller did an amazing job behind the camera and in front of the camera.
That's awesome.
Because he directed that one as well. So, Doug, what do you got?
I'm currently juggling 3 shows, but I don't want to weigh in on them until their first season is done. But I am watching Raised by Wolves. I'm watching Lovecraft Country, and I'm currently watching The Boys season 2. So
interesting. I'll be very curious to get your take on those.
Yeah. So
because I started The Boys as well.
I want to finish this because it's kind of nice not binging, but it also sucks at the same time. But honestly, like I couldn't binge it all anyway. Like I just don't have time. Like I've been watching this one episode I'm on of The Boys right now. I've watched over 3.5 days so far, just because I get snippets of time where I'm like, all right, we'll watch it for this amount of time, and then I move on to something, like, because I have to go do something.
Right.
So it's probably best that it's not all available, because everyone will be like, did you see? I'm like, no, I haven't seen it all yet. So now I can actually catch up. I was doing that a lot last week on my vacation too, was just like getting up and watching, getting caught up on stuff. But I will weigh in on those once the season is done. But the big thing I want to recommend is this band called Hot Mulligan, which, by the way, amazing name for a band.
Sure.
Sounds gross and awesome. And they have an album they released earlier this year called You'll Be Fine. And I kind of found their their music video on YouTube on a whim just a couple weeks ago called Equip Sunglasses. And it is a great song, and the whole album is phenomenal. It reminds me a lot of the Wonder Years. Reminds me a little bit of Tiny Moving Parts. It's really good. I've been listening to it nonstop, and I'll probably be playing it. I've been playing it as the intro as we're starting the stream, and I'll probably play it again on our outro. So if you guys want to hang around on Twitch, you guys can get a little bit of a snippet of it. And if you're listening, go check them out on YouTube or anywhere else you find your stuff. But you can check them out. It's such a great album, great band. I'm a huge fan of them. So. Woo! We did it. Another one in the can, motherfuckers.
In the can, motherfucker.
So just as a reminder, gang, follow us on all our social medias. We're at MindGap Podcast on your Twitters, on your Instagrams, on your Facebooks. You can catch all of our highlights and full episodes on our YouTube channel, as well as any additional content from our video game streams or any other video projects that we're doing, such as Justin Plays Video Games and things of that nature. And don't forget to hang out with us on Twitch, twitch.tv/MindGapPodcast. We obviously stream when we record these episodes on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. And then also Saturday nights at 8 p.m. we do our video game live stream, where this Saturday we're doing Left 4 Dead 2. We're going to get that zombie action on. It's going to be hot. It's going to be bothered. And we're going to go hunting for some... So be sure to tune in and check that out Saturday, 8 p.m. Central Time, Left 4 Dead 2. We're going to have a blast. And don't forget to follow Justin online as well.
On Instagram and Twitter, it's at Justin_Michael, spelled Mikel. It's the fun way of spelling it. And while you're in the online realm, check us out on
Spotify,
on Apple Podcast, on Stitcher, on Google Podcast, on Davlik. Was that it?
Spotify.
That too?
Did I get it?
That's the one. All the places where you can find Dalvik. Yes, if you're in India, check us out on Dalvik. All the places you can find and consume the podcast. Subscribe, share, like, rate, review, all those things. Sharing is the big one. Just copy that link, share it out, let everyone know that you think that they should be listening to this podcast too. That goes such a long way. And you can also check us out on 2east8th.com/mindgap, and then just keep an eye out on all of 2 East 8th's stuff. We are very, very close to Sid Penrose. I think we're color correction is done. VFX is in its last little tweak, and I think audio might be done. So, I mean, it is my promise to have this done before the end of the year. I'm going to make good on that. So you're welcome. And then next week, we should be jumping into the string of guests from the special secret quarantine web series that Two East 8th is doing in conjunction with Smoose Entertainment. And each week, each Friday, we'll be releasing a new episode. And the week leading up to that, we'll have the guest on the podcast. And then you'll see him live on Tuesday, hear him on Thursday, and then you'll get to see the episode on Friday. So that should be fun stuff.
It's very exciting. Also, yes, as a reminder, our very own Wolf's Lore has created a specific Twitter account to talk about the Mind Gap throwdowns.
Oh my God. This was such a fucking treat when I found out this is a thing.
It's so cool. I feel like a dipshit because I don't remember what the handle is off the top of my head. I've seen it. Where are you? Throw it in there, Wolf. I know you're in there, man. What is it? MGP Throwdowns. At MGP as in Paul Throwdowns.
Or some podcast.
So yes, it's
like
at
MGP, like Mind Gap podcast.
Yeah, Throwdowns. And he's essentially taken the time to go through some of our previous episodes and put together the Throwdowns and do some research to decide whether or not we were wrong or right, or if we were a split decision. He's going to help weigh in on what was going on. He already gave me a nice little tidbit of how we were arguing, Justin and I, between She-Hulk versus Wonder Woman. He gave me some very insightful reasons as to why I was wrong in that particular episode. So be sure to check out that and follow that. It's going to be fun. I'm sure we will still have opinions. The best part is Justin and I don't remember some of that stuff that far back.
Not at all.
So it'll be really fun to see.
The thing that we might do, too, I think it'd be fun, is if we can get Slotty to, or someone to pull, maybe even Wolf's Lore to pull one of those. You and I don't go back and remember who we picked, and we do a throwdown redux, and we revisit it, and we see if we argue the same points, or if you and I are such idiots that we're just like, no, this other person by a long shot.
Dude, I have no doubt that will happen. I have no doubt that will happen, and that will be so much fun. It was like the great time zone debate where you and I were so adamantly arguing, and then we came back to, we're like, what were our points again? We were very staunchly opposed on either side, so we can't remember what it was. But yeah, that would be really fun. Yeah. So
there was one throwdown that we randomly came across that I know we've gone through painstaking. We really haven't. We've just really hoped we've tried not to repeat any of them, but there's one that we definitely repeated at least once, if not twice, accidentally. And we went through it the other day. We randomly came across, I was doing some searches. I'm like, fuck, we've done this a couple of times. I have not gone back and listened to who we chose as the winner. I'm very curious to go back and see if we randomly chose the same winner both times. So
yeah.
Anyway. When Wolf's Lore gets to it, I'm sure he'll let us know.
He'll be like, hey, dum-dums.
Yeah, you're idiots.
Anyway, I really want to say thank you to everyone for hanging out with us. This is always a treat. It's the highlight of my week. So, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you to you, Justin.
Doug, I want to say to you, thank you very, very much. And I want to say to Slotty.
Fuck me, Slotty.
That's a special message from Jared.
Yes. Which is always good because everyone needs to know.
Fuck me, Slotty!
It's
your impression game is just bar none.
It's on there. And Wolf's Lore, thank you for setting up this Twitter account. We're going to have a lot of fun. And to everyone on Twitch, mighty heartfelt thank you.
And to the listeners who were there from the start, thank you so, so much.
And to everyone that's new and people that haven't found us yet, but maybe find us in the future, thank you as well. And
to my acupuncturist, thank you.
To my plantar fasciitis, fuck you. And you all have a dandy fucking week.
Mind Gap Podcast.